coming off their only loss this season Sunday against LSU. Number 2 against number 4. Here we go. Tessa Johnson gets a clean look and knocks it down.
Great start for Tessa Johnson. Texas in there, staple, man-to-man defense. South Carolina likes to run that double drag screen. Got Johnson a good look.
Booker had some space, didn't take, bounces it inside, and a travel right away as Carleton shuffled the feet.
Justice Carleton had a terrific game the first time these teams met back in November. Here's the double drag, and then back screen by Tessa, and then she steps out and has all kinds of time to drain it.
Tessa Johnson having a really strong season, shooting 44% from 3. Lats in, a little short on that attempt, and the rebound secured by Brea Cunningham. Here's Harmon. Harmon pulls up in the mid-range, nearly that same spot she had the game winner, and gets a whistle as Harmon is going to shoot 2. And Raven Johnson picks up the personal.
Raven Johnson, the primary defender right now on Rory Harmon, but she will also be responsible at times for defending Madison Booker. Important for her and for South Carolina for Johnson to stay out of foul trouble.
Well, even Vic Schaefer, one of the things he talked to us about in regard to South Carolina and their strengths is he said Raven Johnson's defense has been incredible, the way she's been pressuring the ball.
Vic Schaefer likes his defense, whether it's his team playing or others.
Lee intercepts the inbound, ill-advised. Here's Lee. Pull up from the free throw line, back iron it off. Rebound lands in the lap of Johnson. Johnson swiftly ahead. Lee came from behind to knock it out of bounds, and it stays with South Carolina. South Carolina 5-2 against Texas in the Dawn Staley era as that layup drops in for Okote.
Really nice job by Tania Latson on the dribble penetration, draws 2 defenders, the wraparound pass. She struggled the first time these teams met, starting the game 1 for 9 from the floor.
And Medina Okote has been a huge addition for South Carolina, averaging more than 15 points, 11 rebounds. Here's Booker across her body, able to bank it in over Edwards.
Madison Booker has such terrific control of her body, whether it's getting to a mid-range pull up, that one there, a bit of a floater.
Booker, last year's SEC Player of the Year. Nice hands on the swipe from Cunningham. Here comes Harmon off the steal. Harmon goes cross. Gordon Johnson able to get back in the play and steal it. Edwards running the floor. So dangerous when she does.
Both Joyce Edwards and South Carolina so good when they get out in transition. They lead they're second in the nation in fast break points a game at 24 per. Vic Schaefer not happy with the way his team turned the ball over against LSU. We've seen a couple turnovers here already.
He pointed to the turnovers and the offensive rebounds, and he said that showed a lack of focus in that game as Booker hits the mid-range.
Lack of focus, and one word that Vic Schaefer always brings up when we talk to him, especially in this matchup, toughness.
He always says Dawn Staley's teams, they are tough. They play hard the entire game. You have to have the mental toughness and the physical toughness to stick with it the whole way. Okote airballs that one. Here comes Lee. Edwards nearly came up with a steal. Lee back to get it. Edwards, terrific effort. And at last touched.
Remaining, they can still appeal. They could lose a timeout, could be charged with an excessive timeout if they don't have one, though.
And that would result in free throws.
That is correct.
For the opposing team.
Yes. And Vic Schaefer comes out of that to huddle, trying to get Bree Preston going. And he likes to do that, clear out the right side, let her drive to the basket. But what does it result in? Another turnover for Texas. The team, when they were going into their game against LSU on Sunday, leading the nation in fewest turnovers per game. 17 against LSU, and already a problem here.
Yeah, they're averaging just 10.5 per game on the season, but they have 3 in the early going. Both teams having a little trouble. And remember, Dawn Staley told us before the game, she said, one of the keys for her is what's going to happen with the playmaking outside of the way they're going to pressure us and we're going to pressure them. Here's Edwards trying to make a play. Okot leaning, couldn't float it in, and Booker dives back for the rebound.
But certainly a luxury for Dawn Staley that she can have her four-player, her big forward, power forward, be the one initiating the play.
Taya Sidbury into the game for Texas. Here's Booker, guarded by Johnson, who already has one foul. Harmon, mid-range, is good. Dick Schaefer talks about the good sign when Rory Harmon hits some of those jumpers early on, the confidence it gives her. As Edwards had it poked away, ends up catching it off the deflection. Again, trouble with the inbound, though.
But this is what Texas does on the defensive end of the floor. They are going to pick up full court whenever they can.
Johnson, and that is going to be a blocking foul called against Texas. And there is the ovation for Alicia Tornabez, the freshman from France, making her debut right now for South Carolina. Joined for the spring semester, eligible to play immediately. Rebecca, you're very familiar with her mother?
Isabel Fijalkowski. She was a player for the Cleveland Rockers. The first 2 seasons of the WNBA, I played against her. 6'4", powerful post player, man. She was an absolute handful. You see her there on your screen on the left side.
The parents in, and Dawn Staley wasting no time getting Tornabez into the game. Lee able to lay it in with the left hand. Nice move from Jordan Lee. The sophomore has taken a big leap this season after a promising end to her freshman year. Here's Johnson with Tornabez ahead of her. Johnson lobs it up. Tornabez couldn't quite hang on. She is 6'7", the freshman who has played professionally overseas, as Johnson comes down with the rebound. Here's Tessa Johnson, a little too much for Laxon, who goes flying into the front row. There's Tornabez pregame, 6'7". Yeah, you can do that when you're 6'7". Throw it down. Not bad for 18 years old.
Dawn Staley had high praise for her freshman when she said some of her moves are Lisa Leslie-like. Talked about her feathery touch on her shot. Very excited about this young woman.
She said her skill, incredible. She said she seems unafraid. So now maybe that'll change when she's out here in a big game against a team like Texas, but that's the way she's seemed thus far. Latson dumps it down. Edwards trying to get it back out. Booker intercepts it. Here's Booker. Both teams a little sloppy in the early going. Cunningham back out to Booker. She will fire. Can hit the three. Johnson the rebound. Madison Booker was shot at 40% on low volume last year, just 24% this season. Edwards stops and uses the window, just couldn't get it to drop in. Let's check in with Holly Rowe.
Well, you heard the crowd's reaction when Alicia checked into the game. Tornabez is already a pro prospect. She's got pro habits, according to the strength and conditioning coach, Molly Benetti. She said she's stronger than she looks. She does need to add some size to her frame, but she's got a 6'10" wingspan, which is one of the reasons she can dunk so easily. She's got a silky fluid shot, and when I went up into the stands and talked to her parents today, they're so excited for her. They think she is a very calm young lady with a great skill set. They're very excited for this debut. They came all the way from Vichy, France.
And Holly, it's interesting because Tornabez was not due to join them until next year, but wasn't really playing much on her pro team. Came for a visit, and Dawn Staley said, look, you know, we only really have 10 we're playing. We could use you. You'll play right now. And so she decided to join for spring semester and be a part of, you know, what is a contending South Carolina team. Second foul on Jordan Lee, very significant. Lee, terrific on both sides of the ball, but she has also been especially good in the matchups against South Carolina. She's also the maybe only true threat from three for Texas. Booker is as well, but doesn't take a ton of them. Lee has made more than 4 times as many threes as the next closest player on Texas, which is Booker. Good pressure here defensively up into Booker. Agat McKeer drawing applause from the crowd. Justice Carlton looked like she shuffled the feet. Couldn't get it to go on the putback, and a foul. And it will stay here. Hey, what an ACC-SEC women's basketball doubleheader we have for you Sunday afternoon on ESPN2 and the ESPN app. First, in the ACC, number 9, Louisville faces off against NC State at 1 Eastern. And then in the SEC, 6th-ranked LSU squares off against 13th-ranked Oklahoma in Norman.
You heard the crowd just getting so excited while they were watching Agat McKeer just defend on the perimeter there. The more you can make Madison Booker just dribble the basketball, or any player, instead of switching sides of the floor, for the freshman to come out and use her length and athleticism that way against one of the best players in the country, a lot for this crowd to be excited about.
Freshman from Ontario who's been playing well of late. Dawn Staley saying she's really built trust on both sides of the ball now. Here's McKeer. McKeer on the drive, at it ripped away by Carlton. And now McKeer takes it right back and gets fouled by Carlton. Vic Schaefer irate on the Texas sideline after Carlton threw it away following the steal.
Just staying with it, and here Justice Carlton just trying to make a pass, and McKeer is so long, uses those arms to just steal the basketball and get herself to the free throw line.
What are you seeing right now? Because we know these two defenses can really turn you over, but it feels like there's something
frenetic.
More than that. Yeah.
It's a really hectic, frenetic pace right now, and I think part of that is the way both teams get out and defend. They're not making any even entry passes easy. They're not making it easy. Texas is not making it easy for South Carolina to even inbound the basketball, and I think that's sped both teams up in a way that's a little bit uncomfortable.
How about the broadcasters? Has it sped them up in an uncomfortable way?
I'm very comfortable. I'm just wondering, with you sitting, I don't know if it would be considered a throne. I like to think of it more as a high chair.
Oh, yeah, there I am on my...
You're towering over me.
It feels nice. I'm not going to lie. I might put this in my rider from now on.
If they still have them, I need a phone book to sit on.
Do they still have them?
I don't think so.
Booker short on that attempt. Here's McKeer. Using the screen from Tack. South Carolina with a ton of size. Here's Maddie McDaniel. Edwards in the mid-range. No. And Harmon the rebound. Texas a 12-10 lead. A little more than 3 minutes to go in this first. Booker steps into a three. Too much on it. Weak side rebound. Grabbed ferociously by Tanaya Latson. Led the nation in scoring a season ago at Florida State. Been very efficient in fewer attempts this season. Latson dumps it out. McDaniel gives it up. Here's McKeer trying to find an angle. McDaniel, 4 to shoot, kicks it out. Edwards on the drive, gets the whistle. And Joyce Edwards, after a patient possession from South Carolina, will shoot 2. Fouls on Carlton, and that is now 2 on Carlton. So you have 2 on Lee, 2 on Carlton, and you still have more than 2 minutes left in the first.
It's interesting, Ryan, because on Sunday, when Madison Booker picked up her second, Vic Schaefer put her on the bench for a good stretch. You know, not willing in the first half, not willing to get her picking up her third.
This is a pretty amazing graphic we're about to show you. Now, Joyce Edwards averaging 20.7 points per game this season. If that holds, that would be the second highest point per game total ever under Dawn Staley. Asia Wilson with the highest in the 17-18 season. You know, South Carolina has had such well-balanced teams even as they've won these national championships. It's wild to think, though, they haven't had more 20-point scorers.
Well, Aaliyah Boston usually had about 3 or 4 people guarding her. That's what's keeping her from averaging 20.
That's right. She had to pass out of those triple and double teams. As that last hits McDaniel's foot.
I thought that was off of a Texas player's leg.
Well, there is a chance to appeal if South Carolina feels it did last hit Texas.
Khadijah Sessions looking behind the bench with her arms up like at the video person to see.
Let's see.
Oh, I can't tell from there.
Yeah. Couldn't tell if it was Texas or if it was McDaniels. Inbound Booker. She got it, plus the foul. Able to elevate over McDaniel. And a chance for 3 for Madison Booker.
Really well executed here. Just nice screen by Justice Carlton that gets Madison Booker open. And both of these teams spent a significant amount of their shoot around today going on the how they were going to defend their opponents under out-of-bounds plays.
McDaniel picks up her first. Here's Booker, last year's SEC Player of the Year and a first-team All-American. Buries the free throw. Booker has, in her career, struggled against South Carolina, just 32% from the floor in the previous 5 games. McDaniel up under and off. Carlton Nair, remember, playing with 2 fouls. Here's Edwards. The swim move. Banger wouldn't get there. And then Harmon comes down with a rebound.
Joyce Edwards has had some really nice moves, just unable to finish efficiently so far in this game.
Yeah, now 1 of 4 from the floor. Lobbing in Oldacre, center of the lane. Oldacre muscles it up into a whistle. And Kyla Oldacre will shoot 2.
This crowd doesn't like it, but these officials have been very consistent at what they're calling on the interior, both ends of the floor.
Oldacre is coming off a couple of big performances. 2 games ago, 23 points, 11 rebounds. Sunday, 16 points, 16 rebounds. Back-to-back double-doubles for the first time in her career. And Vic Schaefer, talking to us before the game, he was really upset at the lack of touches she got in that game against LSU. He said she was a huge part of the game plan, going high-low to her. She was unbelievably efficient with her touches. He said, y'all, she scored 16 points, had 9 touches, and was on his guards about getting her more opportunities.
As a post player, I was thrilled to hear that.
Yes.
Because, yeah, there were times where she just couldn't be stopped. Once she got the basketball, she just did not get it enough.
And as someone who loves to hear people say, y'all, I was thrilled to hear that. 1:50 to go in this first quarter, as Oldacre able to sink both, a 4-point Texas lead. McDaniel drops it. Who did last hit? Last hit her. And another turnover on an inbound from South Carolina. 6 turnovers for the Gamecocks in this. Yeah, I think it hits that left hand of McDaniel.
McDaniel came into this game with 4 total turnovers on the season. Ridiculous.
D, if you're an official, are you sweating with all of these close out-of-bounds calls early on in this game?
Absolutely. I mean, everyone thinks block charges are tough. Out of bounds can be some of the most difficult calls in the game.
And we have had a plethora of them in the early going. Here's Harmon, scattering through traffic and dropping it in. Rory Harmon has had the mid-range going a little bit here in the first. She's up to 6 total points.
Certainly a much better start for Rory Harmon than the last game.
Like Holly Rowe told us, Rory told her, I will not have a game like I did Sunday again. So a 6-0 run for Texas. South Carolina has missed their last 7 shots. McKeer can't hit the 3. Oldacre, one of the nation's best rebounders, now on the move. Oldacre finds the cutter, and the layup is good. Sidbury able to finish through traffic.
We are 100% going to replay Oldacre dribbling the ball the length of the court and delivering the assist.
Shades of the Elite 8 from Kyla Oldacre.
I mean, not only corrals the ball with that 6'10 wingspan, but look at head up, right patter, left patter, and delivers the basketball.
And the blow delivered by Sidbury, you can understand why the crowd was upset. It looked like McKeer may have been there with position for it to be a charge rather than a no call. Here's McDaniel. McDaniel dancing around Harmon, floats it up and off, and a whistle underneath as Tack got involved on the offensive glass. And free throws here for Adele Tack.
Both of these teams going relatively deep into their bench. Texas playing 8, South Carolina playing 9 now. With the pace of this game and the amount of fouls that have been called, that will be important.
First foul on Oldacre. Been a lot of talk around Texas basketball about Oldacre and her not starting, as she has seemed to be the best option at the 5. But Vic Schaefer said one of the reasons he loves bringing her off the bench is because it keeps her out of foul trouble.
He said it's been working so well, he's going to stick with it.
7-point Texas lead, shot clock turned off. Booker, 7 seconds left. Booker creeping down, draws 2. Harmon, extra feed. Sidbury, no. Saved underneath, and Oldacre did not get it all. A 20-13 Texas lead. Start of the second quarter. Here's Lee playing with 2 fouls. Lats in the deflection. Harmon, 5 to shoot. Gonna have to make it happen. Harmon with space connects. And Lori Harmon again in the mid-range.
And that can continue to be there because of the drop coverage played by the South Carolina bigs. And it's hard to play drop coverage when Harmon and Booker are so good getting to their mid-range.
We saw that last year, daring Lori Harmon to shoot at times in this matchup. And she has answered the bell thus far in this first half. 8 points as Tessa Johnson gets the roll. Tessa Johnson averaging over 13 points per game. Better than 2-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio. 48% from the floor and 44% from 3. Here's Booker peering in. And wow. They give a 5-second violation to Madison Booker. I mean, D, I've got to just bring you in on that. That's not a... I mean,
it's
you
not a common
never
call.
see you call.
I have to admit, I was not watching. I didn't think it was that close, but obviously the official's right on it, holding the ball for 5 seconds. It's not a common violation.
Thank you, D. So great to have D. Kentner as our rules analyst this season. Raven Johnson leaning in, able to finish.
Raven Johnson has always been very good at that, either posting up smaller defenders or that time you saw it back or down. You don't often see guards with that particular skill set.
Here's Harmon. Sidbury lobbing it in, knocked away by Okot. Johnson in transition, a loose dribble, and Harmon dug it right up. 7th turnover for South Carolina. Booker weaving through traffic. Harmon now will settle with a play. Booker, and that's going to be an illegal screen on Sidbury as she picks up her second. So Texas now with Carlton, Lee, and Sidbury all with 2 fouls.
Not only the foul trouble, but that's the 7th turnover by Texas.
I'm actually going to say that's number 1 on Sidbury. As Ladson lays it in, and South Carolina starting to get a little momentum after that 8 minutes. 6-0 South Carolina run. Harmon gets the soft roll.
You saw Raven Johnson telling her teammate, back up, I'm going to go behind the screen, and then Harmon made her pay for that decision.
Ladson in a crowd, trying to avoid Oldacre. Okot, ooh, hey now, banking it in with a little swirl around the rim. Medina Okot, who put up big numbers at Mississippi State, is first in the nation this season with 13 double-doubles. Booker in the corner, working behind Harmon. Lee on the attack into the lane, couldn't spin it in, deflected to Johnson. Colonial Life Arena feeling this run from South Carolina. Raven Johnson gets the whistle as she went to scoop it in. And now that will be the 2nd foul on Sidbury.
Gonna get done on both the offensive and defensive ends. See Raven Johnson right there. She'll tell her post player, I'm gonna go behind, I'm gonna go behind. You see it here, back up, back up. I'm gonna go behind the screen, and then when she does, the right decision by Rory Harmon. But you talked about it, Ryan. Last year, often they played completely off of Rory, daring her to shoot, and she's taken that dare today and been able to be very productive with it.
She is 4 of 5 from the floor. All the mid-range makes, has 10 points to lead all scorers. Raven Johnson, who's having a very nice season for South Carolina. Career high 10 points per game, a career high 51% from the floor. Dawn Staley telling us before the game, if you know the game, it is easy to see Raven Johnson's value. A 10-2 South Carolina run. Harmon again.
Just navigating those baseline screens. Johnson going over the top of them, and Harmon stepping in once again with supreme confidence.
26-23, Texas in front. It's a Texas team that does not hit many threes. 4 a game, 319th in Division I. They're 358th in attempts. So they need that mid-range. Latson can't hit. Tessa Johnson, the O-board. Another chance here for South Carolina. Raven, the crossover, couldn't finish it. Edwards skies in, got denied by Oldacre. And that pass into the front row and deflects cross court. Now, Holly told us about the Rory Harmon turnaround she promised. It has happened thus far today after a struggle against LSU. Rory Harmon off to a terrific start in this big matchup with South Carolina. She has the last 6 points for Texas. Harmon traveled. 8th turnover for Texas, 8 for South Carolina. These two teams, two of the lowest turnover teams in the nation. Talked about the raw numbers for Texas, with them being 2nd in the nation, 10.5. South Carolina's 15th in the nation at 12, but we saw Texas struggle to protect the basketball against LSU, and then again tonight. They just get a 5-second violation on that inbound, D? What happened there?
Well, Dawn wasn't happy, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 5-second violation, didn't get the ball in.
Or maybe a handoff as Lee hits the mid-range. Yeah, it was one or the other. I think it might have been a handoff, D.
Can't do that. You must release the ball on the throw-in. You can't just hand it to your teammate. We couldn't see that from our angle.
Some funky things happening here in Columbia. They lob it in. Okad, easy for her, 6'6", and using that size for the finish. Okad with 6 points. She's 3 of 5 from the floor. Lob it in. Oldacre gets denied. An emphatic rejection from Edwards. But then Okad overthrew the down court pass. Timeout on the floor. All right, Kelsey. We will do just that. Ryan Rucco, Rebecca Lobo, Holly Rowe, Dee Kantner with you. Number 2, South Carolina. Number 4, Texas. Let's revisit that sideline out of bounds and what happens. It wasn't a 5-second. D instead was a handoff, which you can't do on a spot throw-in.
That is correct, and I believe they just were confused who could inbound the ball, who was supposed to inbound the ball. But once the official hands the ball to you, you can't then substitute somebody else for it. They are doing pass to a teammate behind the baseline after a good basket, which is completely legal. You can do it after a good basket when you can run the baseline. You cannot do it on a spot throw-in.
I think what happened on the sideline play is Joyce Edwards was like, oh, I'm not supposed to be taking the ball out, and went to hand it to the teammate who was, not realizing it was live and that was a violation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Knocked away by Carlton, and it tilts out of bounds. Been a sloppy first half. 9 turnovers for Texas, 10 for South Carolina.
Both of these teams are so locked in defensively, and Ryan, we talked about it. This is the 6th game in how many days?
368.
These teams, safe to say, know each other very, very well. They're great at scouting defensively anyway, both of these programs, but this is kind of what happens when you get teams that are this familiar with one another.
Edwards can't get it to drop, and Cunningham the rebound. Under 4 minutes to go in this first half. Texas is actually shooting 50% from the floor, but they have the 9 turnovers. Carlton trying to muscle her way in. Couldn't get the banker, but the follow is good for Cunningham. But Schaefer loves the physicality of Brea Cunningham, the transfer from Arizona. Said we have another two-headed monster at the 5 with Cunningham and Oldacre. That one's short. Lee gonna rush it across the timeline. Taken away. Carlton evading. Lee into the paint, trying to get around the bodies, and got hit as Jordan Lee is going to shoot 2. What's a tremendous slate of college hoops action all day Saturday on ESPN. The day gets started with Kentucky and number 24 Tennessee at noon Eastern, and then Vandy will host 19th ranked Florida, followed by number 1 Arizona squaring off against UCF. This is just the first 3 games of 10 straight hours of college hoops on ESPN. Lee at the line. Let's check in now with Holly Rowe.
We've seen Jordan Lee using her speed in this game. Early in the game, she's got a couple of steals back-to-back, good on defense, and that speed has really helped her with some competitive confidence at an early age. Look at young Jordan here, a national champion in long distances, 600-meter, 1,800-meter. She said, that's where I got a lot of my competitive confidence early in my life.
It's a sport. If she can't, she's not going to do it. And so because of it, she also learned how to commit defensively at an early age, which Vic Schaefer talked about how rare that is for a freshman, now a sophomore, to come in as polished and committed as she is and was on the defensive end. Here's Edwards hopping into the lane, unable to finish, gets it back. Cunningham there, Edwards trying to move her, could not. Cunningham unable to hang on, and it ends up with Carlton.
Outstanding offensive possession. South Carolina switched sides of the floor. They shared the basketball. Everyone touched it, but they couldn't finish. They had issues finishing in the second quarter. The first time these two teams played, got good looks like we just saw from Edwards.
South Carolina shooting just 32% from the floor in this first half. Booker sneaks it to Preston, who traveled, and that is going to be the 10th Texas turnover to match South Carolina's 10 turnovers.
And Booker just looks at Preston and says, shoot the ball.
South Carolina started the second quarter 4 for 4 from the floor. They are 1 of 8 since. Latson flings it out. McKeer, the floater is good. Got McKeer, the freshman, looking confident in this game.
I love the confidence and poise that she's been playing with and the effort on the defensive end as well.
Here's Lee, who's been able to navigate that foul trouble with 2. So is Carlton. Booker, little hesitation, and Latson steals it away. Tania Latson in the open floor, lays it in. Lee had to be careful with those 2 fouls.
Tania Latson, Don Staley talked about Latson being improved on the defensive end. We've seen that both on the ball and off the ball here in this first half.
49% of Latson's scoring comes on the fast break as Texas turns it over again. That is 12 turnovers for Texas.
You see Tania Latson just jump the route on the last possession, reads it really well. McKeer making things difficult for Booker. Latson's there, both hands are high, gets the deflection and the 2 easy points going the other way. I've been impressed with her effort defensively today.
Under 1 minute to go in this second quarter. McDaniel pounding it through the lane, hesitates, can't finish, and Cunningham gets fouled right away by the freshman. And South Carolina with fouls to give.
Brett, how many shots has South Carolina missed today within 5 feet?
Yep. Alicia Tornabese picks up that personal. That is her second. Lee curling, lobbing. Cunningham just kept her feet in. About a 16-second difference game in shot clock. Another turnover. The 13th. Latson gets fouled. Talked about how dangerous she is on the break. Only Hannah Hidalgo averages more points per game on the break than Tania Latson.
And one more time, it starts defensively. Active hands, getting the ball, getting out in transition. What did Lee get right around the elbow?
And that's number 3 on Lee. So that's where, and you talk about this a lot, Rebecca, poor passes or poor decisions offensively, they can put your other teammates in peril when it comes to fouls. So now Lee, instead of escaping with the 2 she picked up early, she picks up a 3rd right before the half.
You see a lot with turnovers right before the half or shooting too early.
Yes.
You could wait for the last shot, and it's not only giving the other team a possession, it gets a teammate in foul trouble, and it drives me crazy. When I watch it at the high school level, it drives me crazy.
Shot clock turned off. Texas a 2-point lead on South Carolina. Carlton looking to drive and another turnover. The 14th for Texas. McKeer unable to lay it in. Edwards got fouled. Joyce Edwards.
Set off the whiteboard. We'll see if Texas allows it.
All right, very good stuff, Holly. Thanks so much. Kind of a fun, endearing moment there. Justice Carlton didn't realize she had to come inbound the ball, and it was Joyce Edwards who was telling her, go, go. Meanwhile, Cunningham gets a good, clean look off the delivery from Booker. Well-executed play out of the half.
Yeah, really well done. A pick and roll, and you get Booker a touch. Even though she doesn't shoot the basketball, you feel good when you're involved in something positive that happens on the offensive end.
Here's Latson, the quick turn, the dive inside, and the cradle finish with the left hand.
Totally cleared, left side of the floor, and Latson had room to operate. Tough finish, but she had the space on that left side.
Here's Lee playing with 3 fouls, picked up the third right at the end of the half. Booker elevates, can't get it to drop. Good box out from Okada.
And really nice defense by Tessa Johnson, following her around the screens on that curl.
Tessa Johnson with enough space. Connects on a 3. South Carolina jumps back in front. It doesn't take much space for Tessa Johnson to become a big-time threat from beyond the arc. First lead since it was 7-6 for the Gamecocks. Here's Booker around the Cunningham screen. Booker gets the roll. More mid-range makes for Madison Booker than any player in the nation.
2 really well-executed plays since the start of the third quarter that involved Booker coming off of the on-ball screen and Cunningham rolling.
Raven Johnson jittering through the right side of the lane, and a 3-second violation is called on South Carolina as they turn it over for an 11th time. Rebounding battle been essentially even. South Carolina +1. Lee dumps it into Harmon. Harmon had 3 turnovers in that first half. Harmon elevates, can't get that one to drop. Able to chase down the offensive rebound. Another chance for Texas. Here's Lee. Lee spinning into the lane, couldn't get it to drop. Cunningham, the putback is good. Backdoor cut, Latson lays it in. Nice pass from Raven Johnson.
Perfectly placed pass by Raven Johnson on that back cut. Had to get it through 2 defenders, delivered it on the money.
Could be set up for a fun second half here. More fluidity to both offenses to begin the third quarter. And a 1-point game between number 2 South Carolina, number 4 Texas. Carlton waits, surrounded, fades, can't hit. Here comes Edwards zipping up the floor in a crowd, and that's going to be an offensive foul as we check in with Holly.
Well, the last time Madison Booker played in this building, it was the shot right now.
Yeah, you see the numbers against South Carolina compared to everyone else. For Booker, Booker gives that one up. She had space to pull that time. Here's Harmon working behind Cunningham. Back to Booker, an open 3. Doesn't get the roll. Lee the offensive rebound. Another chance for Texas. Lee has the mismatch, dumps it in. Cunningham had it knocked away, and it last hit her. That is going to be a turnover. Well, women's basketball takes over the SEC Network Sunday with another We Back Pat tripleheader for you. Number 16 Ole Miss squares off against Georgia at noon. The number 20 Tennessee takes on number 21 Alabama. Afternoon capped off by 4th-ranked Texas hosting rival Texas A&M. All 3 games also available on the ESPN app.
Tonight, Latson, just a terrific job all game long. She has been letting this game come to her. She's forced the action on the defensive end, but offensively making very good decisions.
41-38, South Carolina the lead. Knocked away, Johnson the steal, and then the foul called on Cunningham after another Texas turnover. And again, Rebecca, we've seen several times today where turnovers from Texas then result in fouls from Texas.
And they're trying to go into the high-low action that Vic Schaefer wanted them to use more in the LSU game, but you can't force it. Nice job by getting around and deflecting that pass.
16 turnovers for Texas. Latza gives it up. Johnson. No. Sails out of bounds. Texas basketball. Now, last meeting, Texas had 15 turnovers for the game, which was a high total for them in a game. Already 16 today. South Carolina had 13 in that game. They already have 12 today. But as you said, Rebecca, this is the kind of thing that happens when you see a team as often as these two have seen each other, plus with the physicality and the defensive mindset both teams have. Here's Booker. Her jumper. Oh, smooth. Latson pumps it ahead. Okai redirects. Latson lobs it in. Okai in a crowd. Booker, nice dig to come up with a steal. Harmon pushing pace for Texas. Working behind Cunningham. Harmon's pull-up, missed it. Latson with a lot of space, throws it away. 14th South Carolina turnover.
I think that was a fatigue turnover. We've had quite a bit of up and down, without a whistle. Both teams, players from both teams looking a little bit fatigued right here.
Lee got hit, and the foul comes in. Lee going to the line, 1-point game, 4:50.
Researchers that we're all bringing this disease into the light and doing everything we can to change it. Of course, Pat Summitt setting a great example for everyone.
Well, Holly, the Pat Summitt Foundation, founded by Pat and Tyler Summitt in November of 2011. This marks the 15th We Back Pat season to honor Coach Summitt and help raise that awareness that you are talking about. And Pat Summitt's impact on this game is felt in so many ways and will be forever. As Edwards gets that one to drop, significant because as active as she was in getting to her spots in the first half, she was just 1 of 8 from the floor.
Yeah, really nice big-to-big screen out on the perimeter, letting Joyce Edwards, as she's faced up, go to work.
And that's going the other way as Cunningham ran through tack. And that is going to be the 17th Texas turnover and the 3rd foul on Cunningham. Preston checks in for Texas. Lee goes to the bench. So now Harmon and Preston, who have played more together this season, got to get some time here. You see Texas now 17 turnovers each of the last 2 games after they've averaged 10.5 per game this season, which is 2nd in Division I. Edwards struggling with the inbound. This has been a theme for South Carolina as well, as they throw it away. And both coaches are going to need to see their therapists after this one.
Oh, I mean, Texas's pressure is so tough, especially there are times when they don't put anybody on the inbounders. You've got 4 players trying to get open against 5 defenders.
So 15 South Carolina turnovers now. Booker splash from the mid-range again.
That looked like a jumper from a 20-year-old, Brian.
Yeah.
Not a 19-year-old.
That's right. She clarified that with Holly. 13 points for Madison Booker. Raven Johnson on a strong drive. Couldn't quite finish it. Preston gets it ahead to Booker. Booker with haste up the floor. Booker nearly shook Johnson. Lobs it in. Cunningham barreling to the cup. Couldn't finish it. Tack able to secure it. Maddie McDaniel. Dawn Staley made sure to point out to us how impactful she has been thus far this season, how she's loved the way McDaniel's come along. McKeer, wow, pops it in, plus the foul. An unorthodox delivery, but a chance for 3 for Agat McKeer.
I've been just so impressed all game long by this young woman here. She just puts it on the deck, going left. The confidence with which she plays through the legs. I mean, when you talk about athletes being long, look at her arms and legs, gets in there, tough finish while absorbing the contact.
I sense a Holly Rowe wingspan report at some point during the SEC season. 2-point South Carolina lead, under 3 minutes to go in the 3rd. Booker hands it off. Preston. Another tightly played game between these rivals. Harmon into the paint, elevates, and gets the roll again with the mid-range. That's 14 for Rory Harmon. And once again, Texas pressuring on the inbound. South Carolina having trouble, but McKeer gets free and lays it in. And that's part of where you could be exposed on pressure like that. McKeer now with 8. Booker gets fouled by McKeer.
So one of the things that's so hard to inbound it is they don't have anyone on the inbounder. Here, you pause it here. So you've got 5 defenders. 5 defenders. Those are all 5 lines. You set 5 defenders on 4 players on the inbounds, and so it's just tough to get it in at all. And that time, just a really good route run by McKeer.
Wait, does your telestration work come with sound effects too?
My little stylist has just seen better days, and I'm trying to mark up the thing, and it didn't work very well.
I hope we never fix the stylist if it's going
to give
us sounds like meh.
Yes, it was the telestrator that came with the sound.
Here's Booker. Draws 2. Harmon, juggle on the catch, pull up, back iron it off. Cunningham denied emphatically, and that is going to be a held ball, and the possession arrow belongs with South Carolina.
Adele Tack just gets in there. She's got length as well. Just stays straight up. Look at how fired up she comes away. It's a way to have an impact without scoring.
She's had some big moments for South Carolina in this game. 2-point Gamecock lead. Edwards fouled by Harmon in transition. Hey, tip off your weekend with our ESPN NBA Friday doubleheader. Cavs and Sixers play the second game of a little series in Philly at 7 Eastern, and then Anthony Edwards and the T-Wolves take on KD and the Rockets. NBA Countdown gets it all started at 6:30. You might hear a familiar voice on that first game tomorrow.
I know. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. I know how much you love Legler. Latson throws it away, and that is going to be turnover number 16 for South Carolina as Oldacre will check in for Texas. Now, Dawn Staley isn't wearing it, but you see all of Dawn Staley's coaches are wearing a shirt with her face on it tonight. Very stylish shirt. It says, "My favorite coach is a woman." Holly?
Well, guys, I love that. You can just see at the bottom that it does say my favorite coach is a woman, and I love it because even the men are wearing that shirt, sending the message that you can look up to coaches of all genders. I love this.
And while we're on the subject of Dawn Staley and fashion, I'm wondering, when is Nike going to bring back the Dawn Staley signature shoe? I feel like that's got to be, we've seen the boom in signature shoes again in the women's game. I feel like that's going to be in the hopper too.
South Carolina becomes a Nike school again next season.
Yep.
And how about Adele Tack getting another foul call that time and getting the possession for her team?
And that's going to be an offensive foul on McKeer as Preston pressured her. So back and forth they go with the backcourt pressure. And yeah, clearly that's an offensive foul on Agat McKeer.
There really been a boatload of offensive fouls so far in this game.
Meanwhile, Texas still has not hit a 3. They were able to beat South Carolina last year not hitting one. Can Booker knock one down? Yeah, there it is. The first made 3 of the game for Texas, and they jump back in front by 1. Latson again racing down the floor, couldn't keep it in bounds. And that's now 18 South Carolina turnovers. I mean, the amount of turnovers on inbounds
it's been
astonishing.
It has.
How about this? The turnovers and the made field goal numbers are far too similar tonight. Oldacre Spinning into traffic, and again, it's Tack who's there for the held ball. But this time, Texas owns the possession arrow, so we'll stay with Texas.
Tack has 1 point, no field goal attempts, and a massive impact on this game in the last couple of minutes on the defensive end. Edwards there as well, but just using her length to make things very hard inside the paint.
Edwards with 6 turnovers in this game, and Harmon just resigned to the 5-second violation.
But neither team can inbound it.
Boy, I'll tell you what, when is the last time you have watched a game where it's been this difficult to inbound the ball for this length of time?
Yeah.
Sometimes you see it happen, things get sticky late in game, right? But this has been the entire game.
Very sticky the entire time.
Yeah. Slight difference game and shot clock. Latson off to Edwards, cross court. McDaniel, good touch. McKeer had it blocked off the side of the backboard. Or was it not blocked? Yeah, no, Latson saying, whoa, 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 that was deflected. So is McKeer. I thought it very clearly was. And now a little conference. And Fatu Sissoko Stevens tells Joe Vasili, yeah, it was deflected. So 0.5 on the shot clock here for South Carolina. Can quick catch and shoot. Edwards the tip instead. Couldn't get it to go. And that will do it for the...
They're battle tested, and every week, every game, it seems like they just handle their business and do it in convincing fashion.
All right, I love it. Expert analysis. And the other fun thing is Coach is sitting here with a lot of recruits, and I can hear his entire recruiting pitch behind me. I'm just going to tell you, it's very good. I'm a fan. I would be signing right now.
Good stuff, Holly. And thank you to Shane Beamer, the head coach of South Carolina's football team here. Lob it into Oldacre as we begin the fourth. Oldacre unable to finish. Carlton, who had a huge impact on the offensive glass in the first meeting between these teams back in late November, comes up with a big one there. Raven Johnson navigating ahead. McKeer will let it fly. Can't knock it down. Oldacre on the weak side. Tips the rebound over to Harmon. Texas led by 9 at one point in the first half. South Carolina by 3 here in the second. That's going to be on Booker. And that will be the second foul on Madison Booker.
See that a couple times now from Joyce Edwards. Just really nice quick hands on the ball handler. Able to poke it free.
20 turnovers now for Texas. 18 for South Carolina. Going to see the grit, determination, who can get to the finish line of what has been a slugfest between the Gamecocks and the Longhorns. Johnson finds the angle and uses the window. Terrific crowd as always here in Columbia. Harmon working behind Oldacre. Bounces to Oldacre. Draws 2, still goes up and in with it.
She's able to use her size and her length and her high release to get that bucket.
First field goal of the game for Kyla Oldacre. 6th meeting in the last 368 days between these teams. All in the top 5. And that is going to be an offensive foul as Oldacre took the contact from Tessa Johnson.
Vic Schaefer loves when his players take charges. We'll see Oldacre here.
All right, let's bring in Dee Kantner, our rules analyst, because we know how difficult it is to make these kind of calls. Dee?
Correct call. Oldacre had position prior to the offensive player leaving the floor. She goes through her space. It is an offensive foul.
All right.
And you cannot score a basket on an offensive foul.
Succinctly put. Thank you, Dee.
But what if South Carolina fans don't like the call? Is it still the right call?
Both coaches have been frustrated for long stretches in this game when it comes to the officials. Edwards gets fouled. Line. Nice delivery from Raven Johnson.
We've seen a few things from Raven Johnson in terms of her ability to get the ball inside. We saw a great backdoor pass in the first half there. She had to loft it over multiple defenders right to the spot where Edwards could collect it.
So Edwards at the line. 8 points for Joyce Edwards. 6 turnovers in this game. Hey, what an ACC-SEC women's basketball doubleheader we have for you Sunday afternoon on ESPN2 and the ESPN app. First in the ACC, number 9 Louisville faces off against NC State at 1 Eastern. And then in the SEC, 6th-ranked LSU squares off against 13th-ranked Oklahoma in Norman. Louisville beating Notre Dame tonight. What a job Jeff Walls has done as that team has climbed into the top 10.
In their first game of the season, we saw how good they could be late in that second half against UConn.
Booker, another feathery jumper. Madison Booker up to 18 points on 8 of 15 shooting. And that's going to be a foul against Texas on Ashton Judd, who we did not see in the first half.
Booker with the basketball. Oldacre coming over to set the screen, trying to fight over drop coverage once again. Madison Booker draining the mid-range.
And again, pressure in the backcourt as Preston hangs with Johnson. Latson was telling Johnson, get it across, get it across. Tessa Johnson, a 3. Is good! Tied at 55. Tessa Johnson, 3 for 4 from 3. The rest of South Carolina, 0 for 6. There's been just one other made 3 in this game, one from Madison Booker. Here's Booker fading away, short. Rebound, Edwards, South Carolina basketball tied at 55. Dawn Staley calling out a play. Raven Johnson trying to work Harmon. Johnson doesn't get the roll. Ocott last hit it out of bounds. Texas basketball.
See on the right side of the screen, the help defense is parked in the middle of the lane. Madison Booker. But Tessa Johnson is the one player you cannot leave, or one of the players you certainly cannot leave for South Carolina. A little bit miscommunication defensively on that last play.
She's 3 for 4 from 3. Everybody else is 1 of 11 combined in this game.
Yeah, so the one player.
Yeah, I think
in this game.
Accurate for that. Judd can't hit. Ocott hit it last. Going to stay with Texas. 5:35 to go. Now these teams will not meet again in the regular season. They could, of course, meet again in the SEC tournament in Greenville, which will happen in early March, or in the NCAA tournament. Harmon gets it into Oldacre and a foul. A foul on Ocott. Vic Schaefer emphatically directing his team on what they need to be doing on those inbounds. As Carlton will check Ashton Judd. So it's Harmon, Booker, Oldacre, Lee, and Carlton. South Carolina with Raven Johnson, Tessa Johnson, Edwards, Ocott, and Latson. And now a whistle.
It's a lot of contact.
And again, it's going to be on Ocott.
It looked like she was kind of holding Oldacre. Oldacre thrust her hands to the side. We'll see here. Just a lot of action happening. Contact above the waist there.
Wait, Jordan Lee back into the game, has 4 fouls. See how she navigates that for Texas. Harmon bounces in. Gets it back, 5:30 to go. in this fourth. Tied at 55, and Raven Johnson reaches in. And that is already the fourth team foul on South Carolina.
And that's one thing you don't want to do with all of these fouls is then next time
go to the line.
Go to the free throw line, yeah.
Ooh, is Booker all right? She took a shot
Like
to the gut,
area,
maybe, yeah. Lee pops it in. Here's Harmon. Booker with space, can't hit. Latson, wow. Jordan Lee is very lucky she did not pick up her fifth foul there. She came leaping in to Latson and bumped her pretty good, and instead it's a held ball, and Texas has the possession arrow. That's what the crowd was reacting to, as that is going to be a held ball, and now South Carolina has the possession arrow.
Another impactful play by Raven Johnson. We've talked about her ability as a guard to post up inside. She also does this more often than you would expect, and that's block shots, and this one's against the taller Madison Booker.
Neither team has led by more than 3 points at any point of this second half. The entire second half has been a one-possession game. Johnson too tall. It's going to be the 20th turnover for South Carolina. And a timeout on the floor under 5. Harmon, Carlton, Booker, Oldacre, Lee for Texas. Edwards, along with Raven Johnson, Tessa Johnson. Okot and Latson. Booker the catch and the finish on a nice delivery from Harmon. And another nice play out of the timeout from Texas.
Well executed. Rory Harmon just bringing her defender up the lane and then the spin and go. But the key to that play is always the delivery from the guard.
8th 20-point game of the season for Madison Booker. She's had a big second half as well. In a game where it's been hard to find offensive rhythm for either team. Latson creeping down. Latson can't bank it in. Lee the rebound. Lost it. Edwards has it. Gets fouled and finishes. A chance for three for Joyce Edwards.
Joyce Edwards has struggled to finish it a bit here in today's game, but her effort has not waned on this possession. Just stays right in there, ripping the ball away and getting the and one opportunity.
Fourth foul on Carlton. So now Carlton and Lee both on the floor with 4 as Edwards sinks the free throw. That was the 21st Texas turnover. South Carolina has 20 themselves. Coming on 4 minutes to go. Lee gets the handoff. Backs away. Booker off the curl. Short on that one, and Edwards the rebound. Oh, God. You bet.
And then it went in and the bench erupted.
4-point lead for South Carolina. Can Texas respond? Lee through the lane, barrels in and finishes. That's a tough, aggressive take for Jordan Lee, who has otherwise been quiet for a lot of the night, hampered by foul trouble. Two-point game. Under 3 minutes to go. Into Okot. The mid-range. Can't get it to drop. Booker the rebound. Okot down. Lost a shoe. Texas with numbers. Okot with shoe in hand. Lee run off. Okot still with the shoe in her hand. Carlton open. Can't hit the three. Edwards the rebound in a crowd as Okot seeks the shoe. And now she's trying to put it on while Raven Johnson gets ready to run the play. Now she's ready. I don't think Okot has the laces tied, but the shoe is on. 7 to shoot. Johnson 4 to shoot. Johnson leaning, doesn't get the roll, and a whistle going to stay here. Big time effort on the glass there from Tessa Johnson, and if that's Lee, that's going to be number 5, and we'll see if they call it on. And I think it is Jordan Lee, and that is her 5th foul.
You see the shot go up from Raven Johnson, then teammates attacking the offensive glass. Lee trying to box out, and kind of pushes her too far, undercuts her.
And Dee shaking her head saying, yep, that's the right call. As Johnson misses the free throw. But Rebecca, how much does it change things for Texas that their only real, true, consistent threat from 3 is now on the bench?
Well, you saw it the last time out who Vic Shea for. It was for Jordan Lee driving to the basket, and this just condenses the floor even more defensively for South Carolina. And then more attention you can give to both Booker and Harmon without a spacer on the floor.
3-point South Carolina lead. Booker trying to get to it. Tessa Johnson doing a wonderful job denying Booker. Now Booker comes to grab it from Oldacre. Booker calling for a play. Here comes Booker off the handoff. The leaner missed it badly. Bit of a force. Karam's out. Harmon a 3. Won't go. A little bit of a rushed attempt. And it's going to be a shot clock violation. The shot clock reset, but it should not have basketball in this game. Not so this time. And a little less pressure from Texas on that one. 20 turnovers in the game for the Gamecocks. 22 for Texas. These are 2 of the better teams in the nation at protecting the basketball. Not tonight against each other. Johnson backs it out of the paint. Surrounded, gets free and lays it in. Largest lead of the game for South Carolina. It's 5.
We've seen Dawn Staley multiple times go to Raven Johnson and let her go to work.
Vic Schaefer wants a timeout. We'll take one here with 53. Into Harmon. Let's see what Texas has drawn up. Down 5. Booker gets a look. Goes baseline. The reverse won't go. Booker on the putback. That's good. And it's a 3-point game as now Dawn Staley will call the timeout. 44.8 to go. 22 turnovers for Texas. 20 for South Carolina. Easily into Edwards. Now Johnson. Texas can play straight up defense. About a 15-second difference game in shot clock. Texas also has timeouts to advance it if they secure the basketball. Johnson behind the back, through the lane, leaning and hitting. Raven Johnson with some big money buckets down the stretch for South Carolina. She has 22 to lead the way for Texas. Booker gets it right back, storming into the lane, banks it in. Beautifully done from Madison Booker. And now South Carolina will take a timeout. A 3-point game again. And the Gamecocks and the Longhorns each with 1 timeout remaining. 19.4 to go in the 4th. Now these teams played
tonight.
Texas has to try and force a turnover. If they don't get it, quickly foul. Raven Johnson having trouble getting it in. Finally does to Okad, who is fouled. And it's Okad who will go to the line. 65% on the season. That was an astute foul from Oldacre, who saw Okad about to hand it back to Raven Johnson, a much better free throw shooter. And instead, Okad will go to the line. Texas with 1 timeout remaining. %65% this season. Last year, 62.5%. Huge free throws here. And misses the first.
And over the years, we've seen South Carolina and their ability to get offensive rebounds off of missed free throws. Texas needs to box out.
You see Tessa Johnson giving some encouragement for Okad. That one is good. And it is a 2-possession lead once again for South Carolina. Still 18 seconds to go. And Texas spending its... Latson face guarding her. They lob it into Oldacre, a great catch, out to Booker, hoists a three, can't hit, tips it in the air, Edwards has it, South Carolina ball as Edwards is fouled.
They're trying to run the old Brad Stevens play where you get it into the post player while there's a flare screen happening up top. That time it was for Booker.
We saw Diana Taurasi hit multiple big threes on that exact play down the stretch against Seattle in the 2018 WNBA semifinals. An inbound favorite.
It is.
For teams in those late game situations. Interesting that they clearly were drawing it up for a three. Perhaps Vic, without having a timeout remaining, didn't want to take that chance. Edwards, who's had a big second half as well, hits that free throw. She's also been terrific at the line. 8 for 8 in the game. Misses that one. Looked like it hit Booker. Edwards, though, goes after it. And the last touch is South Carolina. So Texas basketball, 8.4 to go. 5-point game. Harmon gets fouled in the backcourt by Raven Johnson, who immediately recognizes that mistake. And it will put Texas at the line with virtually no time coming off the clock. Now, why is this significant? Well, it's significant because South Carolina has had extraordinary difficulty inbounding the basketball tonight. So if Rory can hit both of these free throws and Texas can somehow steal the inbound, they might have a chance to tie. And Harmon does hit the first. The second is good. It's a one-possession game. Now South Carolina will spend its final timeout to advance the basketball.
If that foul doesn't happen, it's
7-8 turnovers South Carolina has on inbound.
they've been better in the front court
Yes.
and on the sideline than they were inbounding in the back court on the baseline.
Yes.
And they're going to use the whole floor here to spread out the defense.
And those inbounds weren't coming off timeouts where Dawn Staley had drawn something up. Raven Johnson has to get it in. Lobs it to Edwards, makes the catch, dribbles it out, and Texas will back away. That will do it. South Carolina outlast Texas 68-65.